Hello, Year 8, and welcome to our first lesson of online learning. And today what we're going to look at is the issue of tax. And it's part of our series of lessons on how to be a good citizen. So make sure you have your paper and pen at the ready and Google Forms ready to access. So you can find those via our Google Classroom that I set up yesterday. So you're going to need to answer during this video certain questions on those Google Forms, and I'll tell you which ones you need to answer. So what we're going to do today is we're going to revisit our keywords that we've been looking at before Christmas, and then what we're going to try and do is understand why we as citizens pay tax and understand the different types of tax. So let's start with our keywords. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a quick video on those keywords that we've been studying so far, because it's really important we keep retrieving those so that we really understand those and we don't forget them. So what I'll do is I'm going to play you a quick video on the keywords that we've been focusing on, and then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go to the Google form and you're going to need to answer the questions on the Google form. Remember, it's going to ask you for which keyword should be used in the different sentences. Remember to always try and use a capital at the beginning of that keyword. So as you know, Year 8, what we've been studying is this concept of change and how things change in society constantly. The change should be embraced and is a good thing. And we've been using certain key words to try and help us understand this concept of change. One of those first words is attitudes. So your attitudes are your views and opinions on something. And we all have lots of views and opinions on things, and that forms our attitudes. Enfranchised is when somebody gets the vote. We know that when they don't have the vote, they are disenfranchised. So women at the beginning of the 20th century were disenfranchised. Thankfully now everyone has it. Rife is when there's lots of something. So if there was lots of racism in society, we say racism is rife. Equal is when something is the same. So what we want in society is everyone to be treated equally. Prejudice is thinking something negative, and it's not based on fact or evidence. So if you're prejudiced, you might be prejudiced against a certain type of people. Injustice is when something is not fair, and we want to try and get rid of injustice in society. We want things to be fair. Discrimination is that acting on that prejudice. It's either verbal or physical negative treatment. Intolerance is when you don't accept others' views, even when there is evidence. So someone who doesn't accept views is intolerant. Dramatic is sudden and considerable, and we hope sometimes for dramatic change, but often change is much slower. And difference is when something is not the same, and we want to embrace difference. We want to celebrate difference. So what I'm going to do now is you need to go to the Google form, and I'm going to give you 10 minutes to try and complete that Google form. And it should give you a score, or certainly I will receive the scores that you get on those keywords. So the words that we looked at is when we think negatively about a race of people, we are being prejudiced. So remember, prejudice is all about thinking. When we refuse to accept others' views, even when they're right and there's evidence for it, we're being intolerant. In society, if there was lots of racism, racism would be rife. So we'd say there's a lot of it because it is rife. The fact that women still get paid less than men is an injustice. So remember, an injustice is when something is not fair. When someone gets the vote, they are suddenly enfranchised. So remember, if you don't have the vote, you are disenfranchised. So unfortunately, you're disenfranchised until you're 18, and then you'll get the vote. If there is a great change, we'd call this change dramatic change. Remember, when we've looked at the idea of change, actually change is often very slow. When someone is treated the same, they are treated equally. In order to defeat racism, we need to change attitude. So remember, those are your views and opinions on things. When something is not the same, it is different, and often difference is something that we want to embrace and we accept difference. And when somebody verbally attacks someone because of their race, they are discriminating against somebody. Next up, we're going to look at why we pay tax. So tax is something that we say is compulsory. That means you have to pay it. So like I just said, tax is compulsory, so we have to pay it. And the public sector, so the public sector is everything the government runs, relies on tax. It couldn't do things without taxpayers' money because it needs that taxpayers' money to build hospitals, to build schools, to have a fire service, to have a police service. So it's really important part of a successful society. So again, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to work independently on your own, answering the Google Forms on that particular video and what we've just talked about on what the government spends tax on and what that all means. And lastly today, what we're going to look at is the different types of tax. There are lots of different types of tax, but the three main ones we're going to look at are income tax, national insurance, and something we call VAT or value added tax. So again, I want you to watch this quick video on the three different types of tax, and then we're going to answer some questions on that. So today we're going to be talking tax and all things tax related. So we're going to be discussing three different types of tax. Those are income tax, national insurance, and VAT or value added tax. So a tax is a compulsory financial charge, so it's money that you have to pay. So first up, let's talk about income tax and what that actually means. So income tax is probably one of the main forms of tax you're going to be paid in your life. So what will happen is you'll get a job. Once you have that job, they will give you an income. So they'll give you money for your services, so money for doing that job. So as soon as you get paid an income of over $12,500, you start paying 20% income tax. So the first $12,500 you earn is tax-free. We call that a personal allowance. However, between $12,501 and £50,000, you're going to pay 20% tax. And when you earn over £50,000, you're going to pay 40% tax. So let's look at how that actually works. So if you're paid £25,000 a year, the first $12,500 is tax-free. So you pay tax on the remaining $12,500 and you pay 20%. So let's work that out by working out 10% first. So 10% of $12,500 is $1,250. But we want to times that by 2 because we want to work out 20%. So 1,250 times 2 is 2,500. So if you're paid a salary of £25,000, you're going to pay income tax of £2,500 a year. Next up is national insurance. So remember, an insurance is when you get provided with protection when things go wrong. So the government needs money to provide protection. So on the money you earn over £183 a week, you're going to pay 12% national insurance. So let's say you earn £500 a week. Well, the first £183 is tax-free. So the national insurance you'll be paying is on the £317. Now remember, we've got to work out 12%. So again, we'll start with 10%. So 10% of 317 is £31.70. We then want to work out 2%. So we'll start by 1%. So 1% of 317 is £3.17. £3.17 times 2 is £6.34. So we'll add those two together, the 10 and the 2, and we'll get £38.04p. So £38.04p will go to the government in national insurance. And the government's going to spend that on things like healthcare to protect us. Last up, let's talk about value added tax or VAT. So that is the tax on sale of goods. So every time we buy something, they're going to pay a tax. So shops are going to give the government money for the things you buy. So every time you buy something, 20% of that goes to the government. So here we've got some chocolate bars and sweets. So let's see that in action. So let's say that the chocolate bar is worth 80p. So 10% of 80p is 8p. Remember, we want to work out 20% though, so 8p times 2 is 16p. So 16p is going to go to the government. So remember, 20% on everything you buy. So just a reminder today, we've looked at income tax, national insurance, and VAT, all big forms of tax. Thank you very much for listening. Just a summary, we just looked at income tax, national insurance, and value added tax, or VAT. So like we said we were going to revisit our keywords, which we did. We said we were going to understand why we pay tax, and tax is such a crucial part of our society. And then we tried to understand the different types of tax. Remember, this is one of our crucial responsibilities as a citizen, is that we pay tax because it helps society work.